All right, everyone, and welcome back to DB Talk. Today, we're going to be talking about the Prem overall and kind of a roundup on all the recent results and how the overall top six teams and other kind of other teams are doing in the Prem so far this season. And yeah, we have a couple guests with us. We have Haitham, our Chelsea representative. We have Piyush, who's a Barca fan, and obviously myself, Bishan, and Brajesh, who are Barca fans as well. But I think the main fixture we're going to talk about today is the obviously the Manchester Derby, where United won 2-0 against City. And I'm honestly really shocking to see how United won the game. And obviously this is Carrick's debut as interim boss. He showed how United can dominate games, and I feel like the main reason that United won this game is because they kept things simple with their lineup, and Carrick knew how to place his players in the best positions, and obviously we saw a player like Kobe Mainu come back in the lineup, and I feel like he had a really good game himself. So let's talk about it. Brajesh, you're the United fan as well, so you want to talk about it about the game going into it?
Okay, yeah, so going into this game, it's a Manchester derby, so it's a very big game. It's one of the biggest rivalries in English football, and going to the game, with United we're dropping a lot of points. To teams like Wolves and Burnley, who are like relegation contenders. So I feel like United was in a very bad patch, and coming off, Amram getting sacked, and there's a lot of poor performances, and there's a lot of bad energy that United usually have due to like a lot of it's a very toxic atmosphere. There's like some tensions between the owners, like the Glazers and Sir Radcliffe. So yeah, I just feel like United were in the best place. So I feel like with Michael Carrick, I think getting some type of result against City would have definitely brought positive energy, because it's a big game against a big rival. A rival that City fans love to clown on United and stuff, and vice versa. So I think it was pretty important. And yeah, even City going to this game, they're also dropping points, and City are one of the front runners for the Prem title, along with Arsenal, and right now I think the Villa's also one of the front runners. So yeah, I just feel like City also didn't want to drop unnecessary points, because there's still a pretty decent gap between Arsenal and City. So every point matters for City as well. And even City, some of their players were kind of dropping form. Players like Foden, he had a good purple patch where he was scoring a lot of goals and making big impacts, but recently he hasn't really been to that standard. And even some like Erling Haaland, who at the start of the season he was scoring a lot of goals, recently he hasn't really been the same. He's kind of been sloppy with his chances, and I think it's a result of him being very tired from all the fixtures. But talk about the game. You mentioned with Michael Carrick, I think he got the lineup pretty right. We saw Mainu play, and I think Mainu, we saw him play under Ten Hag 2 seasons ago when he debuted, and he became like a starter. He was very good at controlling the midfield. He was very good with his composure. Was very good at passing. He was very creative. So I think Mainu's addition definitely helped United a lot. I think having Bruno play in the classic 10, where he's much better. I think he was playing very deep under Amarim, but now that with the classic 4-2-3-1 that United are running, I think Bruno in the 10 is much better. He can do a lot more. He can be more attacking, and that's where he's best at. Where he's creating chances, he's very good. His passing and playmaking is one of his better attributes. He's very good at just controlling the game, so I think he was very good there. I think Ahmad as a right winger also was just super good. He was playing right wing back, shifts under Amarim, and I feel like as a right winger he just has more space to do what he's best at, and that's just attacking. I feel like as a right wing back he was good, but I think that wasn't where he was best at. So I just think this lineup got the best out of all the players. I think even Mbeumo was very good, and the back four I think were pretty good. I think Lissandro, he was coming back from a tough injury, and he's starting to play more and more, and he's a starter, I think, and I think he had a very good game as well.
Yeah, and just quickly before I ask the other guests about their opinions, but I just want to talk about the lineups real quick and ask you a question. So, obviously this lineup, I think for City, the defensively wise, is one of their weakest lineups I've seen. Like they had Rico Lewis, who hasn't really been a part of this last starting lineup. Obviously, Mateus Nunes missing out. Kusanov starting, Max Lane, who's just a youngster, starting, and Aki, who also hasn't been really a part of that starting lineup for City. So I do feel like going into this game, City were really weak defensively, and it did kind of show with both of the goals that they conceded and all the chances that they conceded. But again, credit to Carrick. I did feel like he had a really good man management to go into this game with a strong lineup and I guess approach. But I guess I really wanted to ask you, like, obviously with Carrick, it was rumored that he would not be the interim boss, like someone like an Ole would actually take over. And obviously Darren Fletcher, he kind of filled in for one or two games, so he didn't really do too well. But yeah, did you actually want Carrick back at United, or was it like Ole was your front runner?
It's a good question. I think honestly either would have been good. I think both are better than Darren Fletcher. And the whole point of it in terms is just to be a short-term replacement. And I feel like Michael Carrick, I'm pretty sure he has a pretty good record as a United interim. So I feel like he knows the team pretty well, and he's a former United player, United legend, I'd say. And Ole as well, I think was a very good manager under United. But I feel with Ole, I mean, we saw it. I mean, from what I remember, his last coach, I believe it's, I don't know how to pronounce this team's name. Bexis. I don't know how to pronounce it, but Besiktas, yes. And they played in the Europa League actually when United was in the Europa League last season, and they weren't that strong honestly. And then he actually got sacked as a result. So, I think Ole is definitely cool, but I think Michael Carrick might have been better, and I think the performance today might have indicated that. But at the same time, I feel like with United and United managers, post Sir Alex, the big things, you can't really like be so reactionary after one game. I feel like a lot of the times United managers can have a really good game, but then after things aren't really like that, it gets really consistent at times. I mean, Amram's like a big example of that. I mean, in his first Manchester derby, he was able to get the win with the Ahmad Diallo winner. It was actually a 2-1 result, and then I mean, there was a lot of like positive energy after that. But then after Amram kind of, he wasn't as strong. So I feel like with United and the managers, like the big thing is that not many are really consistent. So yeah, I just feel like I think Michael Carrick right now, I mean, I think I like the way he's approaching the team and the lineup he's putting up, but I mean, I'm not too sure how it'll go in the future, and we'll see. Obviously, I mean, it's a big game against Arsenal next, so we'll definitely see how that goes. But yeah, I do think he's better than Ole, and I mean, personally, I don't really know who I thought should have been the replacement. Honestly, I wasn't too sure. Honestly, I was thinking that United might have actually signed a manager, but I don't think United were looking at anyone too specific, at the moment. So I don't think that was really possible. So yeah.
Yeah, I do feel like Carrick was the best deployment for United at the moment. But I mean, we're gonna have to see how he does with like the upcoming games, especially Arsenal. You mentioned if he does win that game, it's gonna look like a big momentum push for him and United in general. And I mean, you guys are, I guess, fifth in the table right now, like 1 point behind Liverpool. But yeah, I mean, let me segue it off to Piyush. I mean, Piyush, I think you're similar to me. Like you're one of those, I guess, fans that kind of really appreciates watching City play in the Premier League, and I feel like one of our favorite teams to watch in the Premier League is City. But yeah, what were your thoughts going into this game, and was it surprising to see this result?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you for having me back on the pod. It's my first appearance in a while, so it's good to be back. And now about the result, the 2-0 result really did shock me a lot. But I feel like United definitely outplayed City in this game, and honestly, it could have even been like 5 or 6-0 to United. But City do have a lot of defensive injuries, and not a lot of their main defenders started today. I mean, they didn't start today. And I do feel that if Pep had started Turkey at the start of the game, that their attack would have had more creativity and flair, and they could have maybe created more chances. But United definitely deserved that win, and I mean, yeah, that's about it.
I do agree with you. Like a player like Cherky on the bench, I think it was not really the right decision from Pep. I feel like, I mean, Semenyo, obviously, I feel like he had a pretty good game. I think he wasn't like, obviously all the City players were disappointing, but I do feel like he was one of those players kind of trying to create chances and take shots off. But I do feel like for Pep, like he has to find his best, I guess, lineup. We've seen him spend so much money. I mean, he just signed Gehi and Semenyo in this window. I feel like obviously he could have. I think the board back him as manager, and they want to do as much as they can to catch up to Arsenal. So I mean, with the lineup, I think someone like a Bernardo Silva does have to slowly get integrated out. I know he's a captain, but still, like he has to like slowly start leaving the lineup because he's really aging. I feel like a player like Cherky could also like really fill in that position well. But again, really disappointing to see from City. I don't feel like they really created almost any like big chance, and I feel like it felt like at points it was almost only Donnarumma really saving them from conceding so many goals. But let me introduce Haytham. I mean, Haytham, what were your thoughts about this game in general.
For the Manchester United game,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, overall, I do think it was poor performance by City. We've seen how they completely got, unfortunately, how they got out tacticked by the Manchester United manager. There were chances where City could literally go up and try to go for 1v1 duels and push up, but instead they kept doing that slow passing build up, and it overall just led for United to like seize on that and just keep pushing City back and back and back into their own half, which eventually did lead to a goal. And overall, there was some like unfortunate performances by some players, but overall, that's what I thought on the match. Not much to say, honestly.
I mean, yeah, that first half, it felt like again United really dominated. It felt like they could have actually scored a lot of goals, and they had it was kind of even, I guess. But again, they did miss that big chance from United. But I do feel like that. I mean, going to that second half, I felt like United again had a lot of the momentum, and I mean, Bridget, you want to talk about that first goal, that Mbeumo goal? I mean, I'll quickly just talk about it. Like that I guess it felt like a lot of that game. I guess it felt like City was kind of keeping possession and kind of holding onto the ball as much as they could, and it felt like at points United were kind of being that transition kind of counter-attacking team, and I did feel like United was getting those clear chances and those fast breaks, but that first goal, I mean. Credit to, I guess the biggest credit goes to Bruno Fernandes. I feel like he's been one of those classy players in the Premier League, and he is one of the best players in the Premier League at the moment. Um, I mean that pass, the ability to keep the ball and make the right decision, because at that moment he has I think it's a 3-on-2. He does have a lot of options to go to either like Ahmad, I think it was, or like I think it was Dorgo on the left, but he does kind of be patient. He finds the right pass to Embuemo. And then again, credit to Embuemo. Donnarumma was saving a lot of shots on target, but he couldn't save this one. I think Embuemo had a great shot. But yeah, Bridges, you want to talk about the overall goal?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, that goal actually came off a Cherokee free kick where he had a free kick and he didn't really do anything. Like, it was kind of a bad free kick, and then he never able to get the ball off the counter. And like you mentioned with Bruno, yeah, Bruno was very good at. That was a very good play by Bruno and finding the right pass. I mean, United definitely had the advantage because it was a 3-on-2, and then it was almost a 4-on-2. There was a United player running back, but yeah, he made the right pass, and Boom made a very good finish. And I mean, prior to that, I mean, Donnarumma was making some very good saves from against United, but at the same time, also United were actually very good at putting pressure on City, where United got at the point 2 disallowed goals. I'm pretty sure one from Ahmad, which was offside, and the one from Bruno, which was also offside. So I think United did pretty well in actually breaking City's defense, and I think most of it comes from just the creativity of the players and just the great passing that the players were doing. I mean, with Bruno and Ahmad, I think they're one of the most creative players in the team. Even someone like Manu is also very creative. So I feel like with their creativity and the way they're very good at playmaking and finding the right pass and their positioning as well. I think Bruno is very good at positioning and finding himself in a very threatening space where he can either make a very good pass or he can get himself to get a very good shot off. So yeah, I just think it was very well done from the players, and I think United in that sense were very good at just outplaying City. I do think City were very good at just dominating the possession, but I feel like with the possession, they didn't really do much with this. So I feel like with City, they could have found a way to just utilize their position better, because they have players like Haaland they have players like Haaland who we know he's a very good goal scorer and he's threatening, and he scored versus United before many times. So he could have definitely been a threat, but I don't think City played the game right, and I think that ultimately led to them losing because they just didn't do anything with the ball, and United just did super well, just breaking them down, and just I would say Bruno kind of just like bossed the midfield.
Yeah, I do feel like United were really dominating at that point of the game, especially in the second half, and especially even before that goal, there was that Casemiro miss where I don't know how he missed like a tap in. Again, credit to Donnarumma, but I mean, yeah, Piyush, if you want to talk about that first goal and any questions you have for Brajesh about the game.
Yeah, I mean that first goal, it was just a very unlucky counter attack, and I guess City couldn't really do anything at that point. But I don't really care about that goal too much. I just had a quick question for Brajesh.
Okay.
So, in the past, you've hated on Turkey a lot, and I just had a quick question for you about that. Like, who would you say has been a better signing so far in the Prem, Turkey or Ekitike, and why?
Okay, I would just say that I won't say I hate on Cherokee. I think in my opinion, I feel like what I've seen recently when Cherokee's gone his minutes and became a starter, and he has produced a lot of GA, he got a lot of assists, but I feel like it's too early for people to put him in certain conversations that I've been seeing him been put in. You know, no doubt he's a very talented player. I mean, in Lyon, he was great. And with France, I mean, we all know that goal over Spain that he scored. A lot of people are talking about it. And, you know, he wouldn't be a City player if he wasn't that talented and that good. So, I mean, there's definitely, like, you know, he's definitely a very good player. But if you're talking about you know, Syracuse Ekitike, I mean, I felt with Ekitike signing, it was a bit weird from Liverpool because, you know, they also have Isak, and you know, Isak cost a lot more, and I feel like, you know, with Ekitike, it wasn't really necessary, but I think at the time they didn't really think they would get Isak, so, you know, and Ekitike is also a very good player, and, you know, so far this season, Ekitike is very good for Liverpool. He scored a lot of goals, you know, one of their main goal scorers. I'm not sure if he's their top goal scorer, but I think he might be. But yeah, I think it's been very good, and I mean, I don't know between the two. I would for now probably lean more towards Ekitike, just because I think Ekitike has had that impact, especially with Isak. You know, he's been injured a lot and just unavailable. I think Ekitike is kind of taking on the starter position much better, and you know, I just think he has had more impact for Liverpool than Cherokee has for City.
I just wanted to pitch in, like I'm like what I think. I mean, I do feel like sometimes, Brajesh, you do discredit Cherokee because I think one time you told me like Zagrova is better at Juventus than Cherokee. I don't know if that's like a joke or not, but I do feel like you kind of take the gimmick out of Cherokee. But again, on my opinion about the Cherokee or Ekitike case, I do feel like they both have been like I guess performing well for their respective clubs. I do feel like they both also like had like dark times for their respective club. They've kind of showed up to kind of save their clubs. But I get you do have to remember that Cherokee was only like I think 30 million from Lyon. So I guess value wise, I would give it to Cherokee. I do feel like he's been so like solid and he's been really creative and output as for City. And yeah, I mean that's just my overall thoughts on that situation.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with you.
I just want to mention the Zagrova thing. I said that because okay, for me it was Zagrova. I mean, I watched his highlights with Lille, and I think he's an amazing, talented player. I think you know people will say that Cherokee is like very talented, which is true, but I think there's a lot of other players that are talented as well. I think Zagrova is definitely one of them, and he's someone who's not really talked about as much. I mean, he's not really as known. I mean, if you ask someone like if you know between Cherokee and Zagrova, most people definitely know Cherokee more. But yeah, I think Zagrova talent wise, he's up there. Honestly, I really think up there.
So
I mean, this is coming off. Sorry, this is coming off like we're talking recently about Cherokee, and I mean, you bring out Zagrova. I mean, now you're talking about Zagrova and Lille. I just feel like it's distasteful to talk about Zagrova when you're talking about Cherokee this season, where City he's been performing well. Obviously, like his first season in City, we've seen a lot of players come to the Prem and like not do well because they haven't been able to adjust well. And Cherokee just like 21 years old. He's just a youngster coming under a manager like Pep. I think he's been doing really well. But yeah, Peach, you want to add on?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. You know, some stuff Brajesh says about Cherokee, I would say is absolutely blasphemous. It's just crazy, to be honest. But, I mean, Cherokee is very talented, and like you said, City only gone for 30 mil. And Cherokee also has not gotten many minutes this season in the Prem. I think he's gotten around less than 900, and he still has, I think, 9 GA to show for that. So I think if Cherokee gets more playing time as the season progresses, I think he'll definitely get more output. And we already know his technical skill, so yeah, that'll just improve over time, I think.
I just want to quickly like wrap up the game because we're kind of going off track. But the second goal for United, the Dorgu goal, again, I think it was really well worked. I think Cunha, who came on to the pitch, I think he had that again. He was kind of open, and again, City defensively were really woeful. I think they were really open at times. And again, I do feel like because of their injuries, they were kind of left open at many times in the game. And again, it was just another cutback to Dorgu, who again, I think Dorgu's been really good. I think Carrick and other managers have seen that Dorgu is maybe really like an attacking player more so. I don't feel like defensively is all that, but I think attacking wise, he can do a job for United. So again, he gets that goal. I think it was a really good finish from him. But again, at that point, it felt like United were completely dominating City. And by the end of the game, again, there was that third goal that was somehow ruled out. again, similar to that, the second goal, Cunha's kind of played in, and then he kind of cuts it back to Mason Mount, who scores the goal. But again, it was ruled out to VAR by VAR. Um, but again, yeah, overall, just this game, like United really dominated. It's really shocking to see that City perform so woefully, especially after Semenyo, getting a new signing like that. But yeah, Brajesh, any final thoughts about the game? Then I'll ask you a question.
I guess wrapping up the game, I mean, yeah, I think United worked very well for the win. I mean, coming off the recent results, I think United was very unconfident and just weak against Wolves and Burnley. I think they were not really good performances, but I think the City game, the players stepped up, and I'm pretty sure it also has to do with like the roles that the players took on. I mean, I think the players were more comfortable in the roles they had instead of the system that Amram had them in, because I think like with Amram's system, even though I think it's a good system and it worked with him at Sporting, I feel like the players that are at United, it just didn't fit them. Like Bruno playing deep, I think it definitely ruined some of his creativity and just his ability to be more attacking, because he's very good at attacking. And even someone like Ahmad, who is playing right wing back, I mean he then has to take on a defense shift. But as a right winger in this current system, I think it gives him more space to just attack, and he's very good at that. He's very good at one-on-ones and taking on his man and just making good passes. And also, I just think that this system plays more to the strengths, which just makes the team a lot more better.
Yeah, and again, I just really want to go back to that tricky point. Just a question for you, like overall this season, we've seen two new signings in the Prem, Cherki and Mateus Cunha. Obviously, Mateus Cunha came from Wolves, who he came from obviously a Prem club, so he's kind of used to the league. I feel like last season he was also like really like highly rated because he did get around like 15 goals for a team like Wolves, who are really struggling. But yeah, overall, Burgess, this season, do you think who's been better bang for the buck and overall just been better this season, Cherki or Cunha, in your opinion?
There's a lot of Cherki questions, I've noticed. I think between Cunha and Cherki. Okay, so yeah, like you mentioned with Cunha, where he was in the Prem as well. He played with Wolves last season and had a great season with Wolves. I'm pretty sure he equaled the most goals a Brazilian has scored in a Prem season, but I think Thiago just broke that record, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I think it was Cunha. The thing is, he cost a lot, and I think with Arsenal, this first game, right, versus Arsenal, I think he was actually pretty solid. But after that, I don't think he was as impressive, and he also had an injury. So yeah, I think with Cunha, I mean, I think with Cunha, I think it'll take more time for Cunha to really, I guess, adapt and just adapt to like the United system and just the way that United play. Because he wasn't even starting for the City game, but when he came off the bench, he was actually pretty good. And I think he has some qualities over Cherki for sure. But then I think Cherki also this season has shown more and has done more for City than Cunha has for United. And I like to mention before with the price of Cherki, like 30 million, I think that's a steal. There's a lot of players that go for way more that are I would say aren't as good. So yeah, I think like if you look at price wise, it's Cherki, and I think like impact wise for attractive club, I think Cherki has definitely done more.
That's pretty interesting. I do agree with you. I think Cherki has been better, respectively, for his club, especially adapting to the Premier League, coming from Liga, and who's not really that good of a league. I mean, no discredit to La Liga, but I just feel like the Prem is kind of a different level for him to adapt to. And obviously, Cunha has played in the Prem for a couple of seasons, so he's kind of used to the Prem physicality and stuff like that. But yeah, Piyush, any question for Brajesh before we wrap it up?
Yeah, so Brajesh.
Okay. You go first. Go first.
Okay, so this is, I mean, it's not really off topic, I would say. So you said, you would say Turkey had a bad game against United, right?
Yeah, I don't think he was as good coming off the bench.
Okay, so now I just want to make a comparison, right? So who would you say had a worse game, Turkey versus United or Olmo versus Sociedad, and why?
It's pretty unrelated, I feel, but okay, I'll answer it.
I mean, I don't.
Okay, here's the thing. So between Olmo and Cherki, so Olmo started the game and played majority of it, while Cherki came off the bench and played like a small part of the game. I think with Cherki, people say off the bench Cherki makes an impact, but I think this game he didn't really get an impact. I mean, his free kick led to the first United goal, the counter, and I think besides maybe like a few passes, like maybe one chance or something created, I don't think he really did anything. I think even with Cherki, he had so much talk going into this game. He was telling United fans that he's ready to kill United, and he didn't back up his talk at all. He actually helped United kill City, so I don't think Cherokee was that good. And I mean, the stuff I see about Cherokee, like I see fans as people like you guys talk about Cherokee, like his standard. I don't think he lived up to it at all versus United. And, yeah, I just think I'm like Bruno. Like I think Bruno was so good the entire game, and I think he definitely part was the reason why I think a lot of City players look bad, because I just think he played so well and just controlled the game. And comparing it to Olmo, so me and Deshaun already talked about this. We did a video on the Stolzy that game in Barca, so you can check that video. And yeah, we just talked about how I think with Olmo, well, I mean, first of all, I think from that game, what I took away from it is that I think Olmo definitely was he had a lot of chances that he didn't score, but I think the chances he had were pretty difficult to score. I think the angles were hard, and just the circumstances. Like for example, that one ball that Lamine Yamal passed to him, where he skied it. When I looked at the replay, the ball is actually bouncing, and when the ball is bouncing, usually it's hard to get a connection where the ball stays stays kind of low. And it's when the ball is bouncing, it's very easy to hit at the ball of the ball where it just skies. So, I wouldn't criticize him so hard for that miss. I do think there are some moments where I don't think he made a good decision. Like for example, when he had the ball and he was trying to carry the ball up to make something, he took a shot outside the box that just didn't do anything. I feel like that's so unnecessary because that just wasted a chance that Barca could have created. But I don't think he was terrible. I think he had a fine game. I think some people over criticize Olmo, if that's the right word. I think I think for the money that Olmo was bought for, I don't think in the 2 seasons so far that he's been at the club, I don't think it's really been worth that price, because he's also been injured a lot, and I feel like that's a huge problem. Like availability is a huge problem, and I feel like this season, even for me, I think is a better player than Olmo. But I feel like the hate also gets too excessive, and I think the game he had versus Sociedad wasn't as bad as people are saying it is. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I think Olmo was better.
You would say Cherokee had a worse game?
Yeah, I think Cherokee had a worse game than Olmo.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay, I mean,
I just want to ask you
I just want to add, I would actually probably agree with Brajesh. I feel like, obviously it's unfair to, I guess, rate Turkey from a 45-minute half where he didn't even start the game, and where City were obviously playing bad. They were getting dominated, but again, I do feel like Almo was kind of scapegoated for that game, and I feel like, I just feel like Turkey really didn't create as much. I feel like at least Almo was getting involved in our attacks and stuff. But Brajesh, what's your question?
Yeah, a question for both you guys. So I'll talk about my opinion about this, but my question would be who do you think is the best player in the Prem so far this whole overall season? And I was going to say, because this game for me easily confirmed that I think Bruno's been the best player and the most consistent player in the Prem. And I know there's other names the Hollands, the Rices, the Gabriels. There might be a Reece James you mentioned, but for me, I think Bruno's just been the most consistent, and I just want to wonder, who do you guys think has been the best player?
First?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Bruno's a decent little player, but I definitely don't think he's the best player in the Prem, for sure. If you're talking about consistency, Bruno wasn't up to, if you compare his first half of the season to the second half, up until now, his second half is obviously much, much better, and I just don't think he was that consistent. I would argue someone like Rice was much more consistent, or someone like Gabriel.
Can I ask you a question?
Before he got injured, was much more consistent.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh yeah, sure, bro.
So what about the first half of Bruno's season was not consistent? What do you think he was lacking?
Well, he wasn't putting up the numbers he is now.
So you think just because of the numbers he wasn't consistent?
He just wasn't up to the level, I would say. So yeah.
I disagree a lot with your statement. I feel like the first people who didn't watch United in the first half, it's easy to say that Bruno wasn't consistent because he missed 2 pens, and also he wasn't producing as much as he is now. But if you just watched, I think Bruno, he still had he's still controlling games. He is very good at playmaking. He was the backbone of United, and honestly, what I would say is you say the second half of Bruno was very good, but honestly, nothing really changed. He was still great in the first half of the season, and it's just if people don't watch as Bruno play, I guess it's kind of hard to I guess like know how good he is. I think like that goes with a lot of players that you might not watch. Like people don't watch players like let's say Dion. People can easily say, "Yo, Dion isn't good," but if you watch Dion, Dion is amazing. And I feel like with certain players, it's just hard to it's hard to know how good they are unless you watch a full game of them. I feel like sometimes highlights don't do some players justice, and just looking at like numbers and stuff, I feel like also it doesn't do certain players justice because with Bruno, he was playing very deep in the admin system, like I mentioned, and playing deep. It's not easy to get the numbers because he's still making that impact, but he's not directly getting numbers. Like he's not getting numbers, so a lot of times he was just making good passes and trying to play make. A lot of his passes were also wasted, and I guess also like in the first half, I mean, some like Mbeumo was like the main output like scorer. So yeah, I think it's not unfair to say Bruno wasn't consistent when I watched him the whole every game. He was consistent in my opinion.
Okay, that's some insightful information. I will also say Haaland has been better. I know that for the past couple of games, he's not been scoring, but I just don't think you can really disregard all of his previous games. And I mean, comparing someone like Bruno to Haaland is very like difficult because they're two completely different positions. But if Haaland he's a striker. So if he doesn't score, you'll say like, okay, yeah, he was very bad. And I agree, he does miss a lot of chances. But like even still, like I don't think you can just disregard all the goals he scored throughout the season.
You're right. I mean, yeah, Haaland's like definitely one of the best goal scorers in the world right now. I mean, he's also one of the best strikers. But I think with Haaland, like you mentioned, he missed a lot of chances, and like I see a lot of City fans complain about Haaland, and how it's costing City points, how they're dropping points in an important title race, and yeah, he just hasn't been consistent. And like I said, when he's not scoring, I mean, he definitely has that presence where this presence isn't impact enough where players and defenses are just scared of Haaland's presence because they know how good he is. But I think like if you're talking like the roles of players and how consistent they do it and how well they do it, I think Bruno definitely does more and he does it more consistent. I think every game he gives us 150%. He always makes some very good passes and playmaking decisions. Maybe some games he's off, and that happens a lot of players. But I just think he's been way more consistent, and I think I think he's been super important for United, and it's part of the reason why United are at the position they are right now on the table. And I mean, no disrespect or no discredit to Haaland. I think Haaland's like an amazing player. I mean, I think because with Barca and the striker there, I think if Barca were to get a striker, I think I'd want Haaland to be the striker because I think he works super well and he scores so many goals. But I just think looking right now at the Prem and just who the better players throughout the whole season, I think I'm giving it to Bruno.
I mean, I guess I can see your point. Do you want to take over, Deshaun?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just give my 2 cents on this whole situation. I mean, I personally feel like I do rate Bruno highly. I feel like he is one of the best players in the Prem. But I do feel like with these kind of questions and these type of topics, it's really team form dependent. So like if a team's doing well, like a lot of their players will get propped really highly, and suddenly if they start dropping off, they all also suddenly start dropping off, and it kind of makes sense. But just looking at this overall season, I think at the start of the season, I think Piyush said like Bruno wasn't at his level. I do think he was still performing, but because United weren't getting the results, it felt like you couldn't really rate Bruno as a player as highly. And also Birdash mentioned like the penalty misses, like those kind of things drop points. And I feel like for me it just kind of dropped like my rating of Bruno at that point of the season. But I do feel like because United is picking up form, like, and recently like the last, I think from game week like 15 or so, I think he really has picked up, and he's really been like carrying and been the heart of United as a team. So I really do rate him for that. But especially like he's been injured for a couple of weeks, and then right away when he came back, he like got back into his rhythm and really kind of started saving United once again. But I think he has been one of the big reasons that United has been able to get 5th place at the moment. And I do feel like going forward in the season, he is going to be part of that. Going to be part of the reason that if they end up doing really well, like he's going to be the main centerpiece for that. But if I was to give my opinion on it, I would probably put Rice just over Bruno Fernandes. I feel like Declan Rice has been just so consistent. He's been one of those players that like every single game he'll give you at least a 7 or 8 out of 10 performance consistently, and like like he also has such an influence on Arsenal's like set pieces. Like he takes corners, sometimes he takes free kicks and stuff, and I just feel like overall, I feel like Declan Rice, I would give it to him, but I do feel like it's pretty close. Second place, I would honestly give it to Bruno Fernandes. I just feel like with Holland, obviously Holland's my third place player, but I feel like Holland is really dependent on like one thing, like that's obviously scoring goals. And as Piyush mentioned, like if he doesn't score goals, it feels like he doesn't really perform as well. And like I feel like Holland's really like that like aspect dependent on that one kind of just scoring goals kind of thing. So if he doesn't score goals, you can't really rate him as highly. But again, I do feel like he's top three in the Prem easily. But yeah, my ranking would be Rice, Bruno, and then Holland.
I think that's pretty fair. I think like I mentioned, Gabriel is also a shout that people mention because he's super vital for Arsenal defense, but also he's also getting a lot of like goals and assists as well. So and he's very threatening on corner kicks, which is been Arsenal like one of Arsenal's like strengths. And it was Arsenal's one game just off the corners as well. So yeah, I just think Gabriel's probably a player that people will shout. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess everyone has their own like, opinion on who they think is the best. I mean, but yeah.
And yeah, we can segue out of the United City game. We can just talk about in general, like what's gonna happen. I just want to end like quickly before we move on. So Bertrand, I mean, obviously United have gotten players back from AFCON, and Mbeumo and Amad Diallo. I think they're crucial parts of your team. So, I mean, what are your overall thoughts going forward? Like, do you think United could compete for a top four position, and where do you guys see yourself ending up? Because unlike other teams, like you guys are only playing in the Premier League, and it feels like having one game a week it's really an advantage because you guys get a lot of rest, and you got to plan for games a lot. So, I mean, yeah, what are your thoughts about your overall rest of the season?
Yeah, so I mean, with the Prem at least, like if you look at the table, like I guess certain like a lot of the positions is very close with the points where there's like I'm looking right now like the point difference between 4th and 12th is 6 points, so that's basically like 2 wins. So it's very close between all the teams, and I think like if a team drops points like over like let's say 2 or 3 games, I think it definitely hurts them. I mean, look like Chelsea for example, where Chelsea were second at a point in the season, and then they went on a horrible run. And as a result, Chelsea are now 6th, behind United actually. And yeah, it just shows that in the Prem, like if you like drop points, it's tough. You're gonna go down the table, and you have to somehow fight your way and cover it. I think with United, I mean, like you mentioned, United bringing back the players, and with the new manager Michael Carrick, who I think he's gonna be the manager for the rest of the season, because I don't see United really getting a replacement right now. I think someone who might look for is Glazer, who announced he's going to leave Palace in the summer. So maybe that's an option. But yeah, for now, I think Michael Carrick will be the manager. And I mean, yeah, it just depends on how Michael Carrick is and like, if his system is consistent and if the players are doing well. I think United can definitely go on a strong run because I think United have the players that can do that. But at the same time, there's a lot of very competitive sides in the Prem. I mean, even sides like Brentford are good. I think Everton also are a tricky side. I think even Fulham have been also putting in like pretty dangerous results. I think they're a scary team. So like, a lot of teams in the Prem are just pretty good and can definitely get surprising results. So you can't really guarantee anything, but I think United are a good enough team to probably fight for a definitely a Europe position. Maybe I don't know what top 4 like the UCL yet because there's other teams like Arsenal, City, I think are secure for top 4. And then between Villa and Liverpool, I mean, Villa right now look very strong, and I think they're going to continue going strong. I mean, Unai Emery is a very good manager, and I think the way that Villa have been moving recently, they definitely have that. Like, they definitely have the momentum to go strong. And with Liverpool, I mean, Liverpool are kind of a tricky team. I mean, they're kind of inconsistent. Like, they drop points, but then they're also 4th right now somehow. So I think they're a tricky team, and even Chelsea are also a team that can easily like jump up very high, and they have some good players as well. So I can't really say anything about anything guaranteed yet, but I think United should have some good results. I think the Arsenal game will definitely be like a sneak peek at how that'll go because that's definitely a big game, and it was important for both Arsenal's title race, and also United's top four, trying to get top four. So yeah, I guess we'll see what happens for Arsenal.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Like a lot of these teams are really inconsistent. Like City, they had that run where they're picking up form, and felt like they were gonna like really contend for the league with Arsenal. But recently, like they've had three draws and a loss, so really disappointing to see on their parts. But I do feel like a team like United does have a chance to finish either like top four or top five because having a new manager, I think Michael Carrick especially, like he really is tactically like impressive, I'd say, because he does know how to utilize his players as best as possible. But I mean, again, like I think United could finish either like if they do really well, I think they could actually finish top four if they push. But again, a lot of these teams are inconsistent, so it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season goes out. But I mean, I'll just give my thoughts on like some of the big teams in the Prem so far. Again, like a team like Sunderland, like a couple of weeks ago, they were like near top four, top five, but again, recently they kind of dropped off. So it's going to be interesting to see how all these teams do. But a point on City, I feel like, especially because they've got Gehi and Semenyo now, I feel like they are going to go on that another big run of form. I feel like they have Wolves next, so hopefully, I mean, I expect them to win that. And with the Arsenal game for United, I feel like I really want United to win that game because honestly, I just really don't want to see Arsenal win the league. I do feel like they have been the most consistent team in the Prem, but again, they have had two draws in their last five results. So again, I mean, Arsenal, I feel like I don't know when they're gonna drop off because most of their fixtures going forward in the season, I don't feel like they're too difficult for Arsenal themselves, and I feel like for Arsenal to like drop off, I feel like there's gonna have to be like some sort of injury issue or some sort of, I don't know, tactical issue or something. But it just feels like another team is really gonna have to go on a strong run of form, winning games consistently, and unlike City not dropping off, kind of like this. But on Liverpool, I feel like again they're also one of those inconsistent teams. I don't feel like they're gonna contend for that league. I feel like similar to United, they're gonna contend for like that top four, top five spots, and maybe even go to third. A team like Villa, I mean, obviously like they were doing really well for a good chunk of time, but again, I think their form is catching up to them. I feel like they aren't going to really end up that high. I feel like they're going to end up at like a fifth or sixth place. Obviously, they have stand-up players like Watkins and Morgan Rogers who are really carrying them, but I do feel like they're going to kind of tail off by the end of the season. And on Chelsea now, I feel like Chelsea, like they have had a really poor run of form in the Prem, but I think their next five fixtures are honestly one of the easiest fixtures I've seen for a Prem side. So they have Brentford. I mean, that was a really good win for them. I feel like that was a shocking win because a team like Brentford were really in form, especially like a player like Thiago who was scoring goals for fun. So I feel like that was a really good result to see for Chelsea. And then their next five fixtures are Palace, West Ham, Wolves, Leeds, and I think Burnley at the end. So again, I think Chelsea could go on a really good run of form, and they could also push for again the top three or top two. But yeah, Piyush, any thoughts about the big teams in Prem so far?
I mean, like, yeah. I mean, Arsenal are kind of dominating right now. I mean, they did just draw to Nottingham Forest, which was, I don't think that's really good for the title push. I think, yeah, like you said, Aston Villa, I don't think their form will last too long. I don't think they'll drop off too hard. I think they'll still get maybe Europa League or even Conference League. I think United, they might have a chance to get top four. I'm not really sure. City, I think they will play top four at the end, and Chelsea, they could have a chance. So I predict it'll be probably Arsenal, and then City, then Chelsea, and I'm not too sure. Like Liverpool are back in form, so maybe them or United. But yeah.
Okay, I mean, if you want to give us like three, I want to ask like you guys want to give us hot takes for the season. So let's give our
I want to first
three, and then okay, yeah, what?
I want to first ask you a question because I know you're very fond of Spurs. So I want to talk about Spurs because Spurs have had a pretty rough season, right? I mean, do I talk about it?
Spurs,
I mean,
bro, like,
especially
what can I
with
say?
Thomas Frank. I mean, Julian is getting sacked. Like, look at it. Lost to West Ham. I actually predicted West Ham would get a result, and Tottenham have been terrible. Their football is atrocious. I don't know how the UCL. They're not lasting on the UCL in my opinion. They play Dortmund tomorrow actually, and I think I've seen so many Tottenham fans say like, they're playing bad. They want Thomas Frank out. The players aren't doing well, so what? How do you see Spurs right now? They're in 14th, by the way. So
I mean, look, like I'm not really a Spurs fan. I just like I usually enjoyed their brand of football when Son and Kane were a part of the team, and it felt like they were one of those counter attacking teams that were really exciting to watch. But I mean, recently they're known as a top six club, but honestly, you could argue that they're not even close to that because recently they finished last season 17th, like 1 point. I mean, one place off relegation, and then this season another poor run of form. And you mentioned like they're currently 14th, so again, it's so bad to see. And I mean, Thomas Frank, I mean, I did after that City game that they won 2-0, I had kind of a lot of hope for him. I thought he'd do well, especially like last season, he did really well with Brentford. But I mean, just really not looking good. I feel like, I think, a couple more games and it could really like seem like, I guess Burnley next. If he loses points there, I think that he could actually get sacked immediately because, I mean, he's just been really poor. And Tottenham Spurs, I mean, just being really poor. But I do feel like he's been kind of given a wrong hands because a lot of his key players, have been injured, and some of the signings that Spurs have made have been really poor. Obviously, a player like Madison, Kulusevski, who was really good last season, Solanke, one of their best strikers, has been out, and just like a lot of players out for Spurs. But again, it's just not acceptable to be 14th in the Prem, and I feel like the board and everything has to be blamed for. And I mean, yeah, it's just a shame to see Spurs being that low in the table.
okay. Yeah, I mean with Spurs, I think even last season Spurs weren't getting results in the Prem. I mean even like Ants, even though they got the Europa League win, I think in the Prem Spurs weren't good at all. So I think like when Thomas Frank came in, there was a lot of hope, but I think now that hope's just gone. And I mean I don't know who's gonna replace Spurs honestly, but I think Spurs are in this big mess right now, and like I don't think Spurs are gonna win a trophy. I think it's just the season's kind of just a waste for Spurs. I think I don't really see them competing for much. But yeah, and also I think like one thing to do with this is just how competitive the Prem has gone this season specifically. I think a lot of sides had like some good runs. Like for example, Bournemouth at the start of the season, Bournemouth was on a great run. They were like top 3 or top 2 at a point. Now they're 15th. Even Palace, who were like top 4 as well at the start of the season, are now 13th. So I feel like a lot of these teams just have like these runs that just it's a bit inconsistent at times. I think the only consistent teams like you guys mentioned were like Arsenal and City, but the other teams really are like they have some good runs of form that will get them great results and even push down other teams in the table. But yeah, it's just very hard I think in specifically this season to be consistent because I think a lot of teams just get surprise results and surprise runs. Like even Sunderland, no one expected Sunderland to like be like this. A lot of people had them relegated. So I mean, it's very cool to see like how competitive it is. It makes the league more enjoyable and gives more surprising like results and stuff. So I think it's good for the league, honestly.
Yeah, and again on Thomas Frank, I mean, in the UCL at least he's been doing well. I guess he's had a couple. I mean, they have one of the easiest fixture runs at least in the league phase, so it was kind of expected for them to do well. But again, if they lose their remaining games against Dortmund and stuff, I feel like they do even have a chance of like not even making the playoffs. And again, even if they make the playoffs and even if they make the top 8, I mean, what are they going to do? Like, it looks like they're going to get knocked out easily or get battered by a big team. So, I mean, it's really not encouraging to see from Spurs. And I feel for Spurs, they have to do an entire rebuild again. I just feel like they're making a lot of wasteful signings, like a Matisse Tell, Kolo Muani. I don't feel like they're like kind of what ifs. Like they're really not like what is it called? Like just players that can really make a difference fully. And I feel like really they have to make a managerial change, a whole tactic change, and a whole just squad depth change. I feel like Thomas Frank has to go at this point because it's really just been disappointing to see. And if Xavi Hernandez is on the market, give me a little cheeky Xavi Hernandez.
No.
Why not?
That'd be terrible. Oh. I mean, you know what he said? He said he wouldn't join a big club after Barca. So I think that makes sense.
I mean, at the moment, Spurs isn't really a big club, to be honest.
I don't think Spurs have ever been a big club.
Okay, buddy. But I mean, yeah, on the manager thing, I mean, I don't really see someone like a Xavi Hernandez really joining realistically. I feel like they have to target someone like an Anthony Iraola who has previously done well with the side like Bournemouth, or someone like a Glasner or something like that. I don't really know who they could bring in. But again, I mean, yeah, they just have to really rebuild. I do want to see Spurs do well in the Prem. I feel like they're one of those sides that really do play good football at their best, and I feel like I want to see that again. But yeah, that's just my overall thoughts on Spurs and the situation.
Okay, we can go to hot takes, I guess.
Yeah, so okay. I mean, Piyush kind of already said it's like top three, top five. But Josh, you want to say your top three and then your relegated three? Who you think could go down?
Oh, okay. I mean, yeah, I'll just stick with the. Okay, so I think I'll go with I think City will win the Prem. Honestly, I think with Arsenal. I mean, even though Arsenal, I think Arsenal like what 12 more wins to win the whole Prem. I feel like Arsenal recently just dropping points, and I think some players haven't been stepping up. I mean, you mentioned Rice, who's been consistent, and even like Gabriel, but recently like players like Gyökeres, people have such high expectations for him, and they thought that he would get the last piece for Arteta, but it doesn't really seem that case. I don't think he's been that good. But I mean, Arsenal have other good players like Trossard, who's been stepping up. Saka, who I think is good, but I think recently he hasn't been to his level. So, I think Arsenal can easily drop points. I think if that happens, City will definitely take advantage. I mean, you mentioned with the City new signings. I mean, Semenyo and Guehi are two major signings because before this, those two are like top Prem players. Semenyo was like one of the best attackers in the Prem, and Guehi was one of the best defenders in the Prem, and they just got both of them in one window, which is kind of crazy. So I think Pep really wants the title because it may be his last season. So I think he really wants to go for the charge. But at the same time, I think City. There's issues with Haaland, how like he may be tired and stuff, so he's not really scoring. So I think if they can get Haaland back to his like 100%, then City will for sure be scary, and I think they can definitely come back and win the title. And I think Arsenal will be second, and third place. I mean, I don't think Villa. I mean, it's easy to say Villa right now, but I don't feel like Villa will keep it. I think I can definitely see between Liverpool, United, or Chelsea being third. I'm not too sure who to say right now. I feel like all three are like kind of inconsistent this season, so it's kind of hard to say.
You gotta pick one.
Take one. Actually, this is hard. It's kind of hard. Also, United. I think maybe United can do something. Yeah, you can mention United are in less competition, so they have more time. And the bottom three, Wolves and Burnley, I think for sure are gonna be relegated. And then now it's between like West Ham, Forest, and Leeds, and I think Leeds stay up. I think Leeds have put in some good performances to stay up, and then between Forest and West Ham, I think West Ham is pretty bad. So I'm going West Ham for this. I think this could be a hot take. I think maybe in a few weeks, Spurs can be in that contention to be relegated. I think Spurs. If you look at Spurs' next fixtures, it's actually very difficult. I mean, let's see. Besides Burnley, they have City, United, Newcastle, Arsenal. So that's 4 in a row, and then Fulham, Palace, Liverpool, who are all difficult as well. So that's 7 hard games in a row, and with the current form Tottenham are in, I don't think it's very hopeful for Tottenham.
Yeah, Piyush, want to give your relegation take?
I mean, Brajesh stole my joke, but I think Wolves are definitely going down, even with their current patch form, I guess you could call it, with the point they got against United, and now the point they got against Newcastle. I still think they go down. I think West Ham is definitely going down, and then I would probably say Burnley.
Yeah, okay, so for me, my top three, honestly, I just don't want to see Arsenal to win it. I might be biased, but I just don't want to see them win it because I've seen Arsenal fans previously, I don't know, give crazy takes, and I feel like if they win the league, that's going to be even worse. So I honestly expect City to win the league. I think, you mentioned Brajesh, they signed major people, major players like Guehi and Semenyo. I feel like obviously there was also rumors that this might be Pep's last season, so he's really gonna want to win the league in his last season. And I think City are gonna go on a big patch of form, especially when they get their defensive players like Gavardio and Ruben Diaz, and obviously Guehi back into the team. So I do feel like we could see City go on a big run, and hopefully they do win the league. I do feel like obviously Arsenal is going to be second place, and I think they might drop form because we have seen defensively they've been really solid, but still, even so far in the season, attacking wise, they've been poor. Their big signing Gyökeres has been so disappointing to see. He's been one of the worst signings I'd say this window, and still they have players like Gabriel Martinelli and Trossard. I mean, Trossard, credit to Trossard, he's been pretty decent, but I still don't feel like he's like a title-winning winger for a title-winning team. And also Madueke, I feel like he's been okay. He hasn't really played much. And Saka, I feel like he's been decent, but again, I guess GA wise, he hasn't been all that. And then third place, honestly, I kind of like the United take, but I just don't want to say that. I could see Chelsea going third. I don't feel like Liverpool have a chance of being third because, again, even with Isak coming back, I still feel like they have tactical issues where they don't know who to play at striker or if they play a two-striker formation. And there's just a lot of like variables for Liverpool. Again, like defensively, they've been poor. Frimpong and Kirkes, I don't feel like they're defensively solid, and they've been poor themselves. And I just don't feel like Liverpool themselves are going to finish third and do well overall. But for third, I'll probably say Chelsea, to be honest. I feel like they have a really good run of form coming in. Yeah. And oh yeah, for relegation, so I just think the bottom three at the moment, I think they're gonna go down. I feel like West Ham could go on a run because they just seem like a team that are gonna fight to not go down. But I just feel like overall at the end of the season, it's just been so disappointing to see. And a player like Bowen, he's been let down by his club, to be honest, because he's been like their marquee player for so long. I feel like if they do go down, a team in the Prem or somewhere else is gonna have to sign him because I just don't feel like he's a championship level player. But yeah, I do think West Ham, Burnley, and Wolves are going to go down.
I think comparing so we watched La Liga, right, with Barcelona. I think the Prem is a bit more exciting than La Liga, even though I think La Liga have some very good teams. And I know a lot of Prem fans kind of discredit La Liga for the quality of teams and all, even though I think it's a bit unfair to say because they only watch them or they only know how difficult some of the teams are. We talk about Sociedad and how difficult Sociedad are away and how Barca have been struggling to get results against Sociedad away. I think I think both leagues are great in their respective ways, and I think the Prem at least is definitely more competitive, and I think it's very cool seeing a lot of these teams, how close the table is and how all these teams can get some surprise results. Everton have been pretty surprising to me. In my opinion, they're a surprising team for me. Even Brentford and Fulham, in the recent weeks, I think have some pretty interesting results. And even Palace at the start of the season were very surprising to me. I thought they were actually very good. I thought they could have done better, but they dropped off form. And now they lost Gehi. So they used to be pretty exciting, but I guess now they kind of fell off. But yeah, I just think the Prem's pretty fun.
All right, well, yeah, I guess that pretty much wraps up our Premier League roundup. I mean, obviously a great fixture with United and City. I think that really opened our eyes to City's issues and Carrick's, I guess, masterclass against Pep. I do feel like we could see both these teams competing for the top positions in the Prem in the future. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how the table moves because we've seen that, form can be really dependent and ties can change really quick. So a team at 12th or something can easily push top 5 in a couple of weeks and stuff like that. So it is going to be really good to see how the Premier League season ends up. And I guess, let's see. Let us know your comments down below on your hot takes and what are your thoughts on the overall Manchester derby and the whole situation with the Prem right now. But yeah, thank you for listening and goodbye.
Goodbye.